Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, coast to coast and around the world, it is my great privilege and pleasure to bring to you the latest edition of Listen, Think, Act, Chat. I am the very right Reverend Brother, Pastor, Deacon, Doctor, and recently Professor Andrew Ward, ready to bring to you our esteemed, noble, and very, very heartfelt guest, Mr. Shawn King, ladies and gentlemen. Yay! Shawn, where are you joining us from today?
My garage in Denver, Colorado.
How are you feeling in the midst of a global pandemic, sir?
I'm feeling pretty good after that intro, man. I don't know how I can complain.
One thing that I would like to ask you is how are you connecting with other musician dads right now who might be in a similar circumstance?
I was actually thinking about creating some kind of group potentially. I talk to a lot of people on Zoom. I still love having phone conversations because then I can put in a Bluetooth and fold laundry, and when my hands are busy, my mind goes free, and that's when you're gonna get me in the best conversation mode, I think.
Spoken like a true drummer, by the way. When my
Like,
hands are busy, my mind goes free. There he goes.
yeah, I usually connect with other dads, just texting, and we send each other a lot of songs. It's usually just, hey, check out this song, or here's a playlist, or look at this video. One dad who I've been friends with for many years, he was actually the character Boba Fett when I had the marching band Boba Fett and the Americans, which I've told you about, but for your listeners was a rogue marching band, um, very much New Orleans inspired, with a little bit of punk rock, je ne sais quoi, let's say. I talk to him all the time, and we've been sharing texts on making. We've been building a playlist of all break beats that, classic soul and R&B songs that show up in hip hop songs, and we kind of try to get zingers on each other. Like, oh, look at that, there's one. You know,
That's fantastic. I had the pleasure of meeting you in Denver about 6 years ago, and then it took another 2 years before I finally got to share a stage with you in Uganda. I would love to know a little bit more, and I know some of our East African viewers would love to know a little bit more about what that experience was like for you to perform on horn and drums and synthesizer in East Africa 4 years ago.
I'm sure I've told you this before, but the performing was kind of the last thing on my mind. Here, you'll be happy to see this synthesizer again.
Oh my
Um,
word. Oh my.
so
Shawn, what
I,
is that?
I brought this. This is called an OP1. It's actually out of juice right now. Maybe I'll charge it while we're talking. But this is one of the most amazing little synthesizers, and I feel like I might have even brought. I could be wrong, but I think I brought this controller.
Yes.
So it's basically like I had a cable. I had a cable in this, and maybe a tambourine, and
Trumpet.
oh yeah, okay, I brought a trumpet too, but I've told you many times, I've always been such a novice trumpet player and got away with I've been able to wow people with the volume of it. So
Our extraordinary guest to this evening is being his categorical and usual, incredibly humble self. The fact of the matter is, he put out his horn and he was playing when the Saints go marching in to a crowd of no less than 15,000 people while beads and condoms were being thrown by the score out into them. They were blowing them up and then throwing them back onto us. I mean, it was a rather surreal experience. Is that safe to say?
yeah, I mean, I actually felt like that was the most fun, was just was just having a show out of it, dancing around with beads, and getting the crowd fired up, which is very challenging, um, in Uganda, because the things that we are used to in American rock concerts aren't necessarily like, can I get a hey? No. Or like, put your hands in the air, wave them like you just don't care. And it's just, there's, yeah, yeah. So just playing with the crowd was fun, and just having an interaction like that was was actually more fun than the music. But that was actually one of the main reasons why I loved Boba Fett and the Americans so much, is that we had complete disregard, and we had a motto that enthusiasm trumps talent. So
Mm.
if you could show up and dance around, much like Boba Fett himself, who never uh, wanted to be a singer, but he loved shouting in a megaphone, and wearing a cape and a Boba Fett mask.
Yep.
I think I channeled a little bit more of that when I joined you in East Africa than thinking about my drum skills or anything like that. So for that reason, I had a great time, um, and so little of it was musical. It was just about experience and people.
What do you think American and Western artists can learn from these types of experiences in Eastern Africa with their East African counterparts?
I mean, a show is about the energy, and you need a little bit of talent to get past a certain point, to be convincing enough for people to be convincing enough to get people to pay attention to you. But if you take like a Public Enemy concert, it's like Chuck D cannot hold an entire crowd solo with just a CDR and just or sorry, like a CDJ playing that track and him spitting his rhymes. Like, Chuck needs Flavor Flav, they need Terminator X, they need the S1Ws, and when you see them, you're blown away because there's energy on stage.
How are you doing it all now?
I don't know yet, man. I think it's just I think it's actually more like picking the one immediate thing that resonates at this moment. I don't have an answer. I don't really know what it's going to be. I don't really feel like the kind of I don't feel like the kind of musician who's going to DJ and put out like a Venmo tip jar. Um, I don't think I'm not going to be doing. I'm not going to grab an acoustic guitar and play some songs, and I don't even really like Patreon that much. I know it works for some people, and I think it's great for them. The ones who can create that kind of content, that's amazing. There's one podcast I follow that does it, but I think it's really about like what the next immediate thing is that seems inspiring, that you can gauge how much energy you want to put into it. So for example, I have a friend who's playing, he's sending me some tracks that he's playing bass to one of the demos that I've done. So now it's like giving me a little bit of inspiration to finish that track. And it's a track. It doesn't mean anything except for finishing it. That for me, that's what means the most, because I think just being able to focus in this time, whether it's journaling or saying I'm going to finish this track to the best of my ability and to the highest amount of cash that I can put into it, I think that's what's important.
And you're doing it, and that is a form of human connection. And you say it's just a track, but to the person on the receiving end of the track, oh my God, the sort of the unbridled joy that you have just contributed to, and then it becomes like a snowball, growing and growing, rolling down the mountainside and creating an avalanche of goodness.
I'd like to hope.
Well, yes, there's no question that that's what you have done in your personal life as well as in your professional artistic life. And you've been always open and honest and inviting of other people to take part in it.
I do like collaborating, man. I think that doing stuff solo is great, and I think collaboration and just making things is something that I will always be doing, virus or not. I heard this podcast with Dave Sitek, who's in TV on the radio, and he's the producer, and he's produced the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and he's phenomenal. And he just was basically saying, at the end of the day, if you still love tweaking these knobs and playing with these synths and trying to get a different sound out of a reverb or whatever, he's like, you're in the right biz. Like, I think this is a moment in virus times where we can say, yeah, what is it that I like doing? What's
Right.
what's my calling?
So you referenced podcasts. What about your own? What about your own involvement with them?
Yeah, I've been hosting one called My Youth on Record, which is hosted from a Denver studio called Youth on Record, and they've been around for 20 years now. And they were started by Flowbots members, Jamie and Stefan, who you know very well from their travels to East Africa. And Youth on Record has always been trying to do new things. And one of the concepts I had with Stefan as we were riffing was a podcast, and I didn't actually have like a super focused idea of what that was going to be. And he's like, let me get back to you in a week. And before I knew it, they had put together the concept of talking to artists about their early days, their early inspirations, their first songs, their first instrument, their first performance,
Whoa.
the things that led them to become pro, and forced me into being the host. So so I found myself doing my own podcast, which is cool because it challenges me. I still don't feel super confident on the mic, and I'm learning different techniques to get better at it. And it's my preferred media nowadays. I of course I love listening to records, but if I'm going to be on a jog or on a drive, I want to hear a pod. I don't really want to hear anything. I don't really want to hear sounds because I try to reserve that morning space for sounds from my own brain coming out. So My Youth on Record this season, we are calling it My Youth on Record Interrupted, or just Interrupted for short. And we're trying to collect stories around the States and around the globe of little 3 to 4 minute vignettes of something that happened to you since things just changed. And the benefit of it is that these little pieces of audio can be scored by students of Youth on Record, and it gives them something to do. It helps us keep creative in this time, and the topical aspect of it too, I think, is really important. So yeah, My Youth on Record Interrupted is the newest thing, and we've done a couple interviews already, and we're collecting stories now. I can send you a link for the submission page, but that is turning out to be a lot of fun because it helps. It just helps. It's therapeutic for me too. We get to process what each individual is doing in this upside down time.
And we are communal beings. So by very virtue of the process of creating and sharing, it benefits all of us.
I think so. I mean, absolutely. I think it's a little easy right now to think you're going through this shit alone, that you're the only one who doesn't have a job and is confused and would like some definition, would like to put a fence around this, feeling like you're bombarded with news that's like, check all the boxes. We guess what? We can all say that. You know what? We're all unemployed, and it's bizarre, but going through it together, you just have to have the confidence that we'll get through it. We're not all going to wind up homeless, and pods and recording with people, talking to people, and even just watching a DJ on Instagram and seeing that other people are there at the same time. is incredibly therapeutic.
Hmm. There is still a chance for collectivism and unity, regardless of we can smell each other's breath or we're only doing it on Zoom. Uh,
Yes.
you know, you have leapt about, from Moscow to the land of the Muganda people, and then, traipsed about the entire North American continent. And now here you are in your bomb shelter musical coven. There you are in your home studio.
It's my
Um,
happy place.
it's your and so every morning you wake up and you do your run and you do your drums and then you do your homeschooling for your two sons. There's a aspect of the everyman about you that everyone can relate to. Is there any advice you can suggest to people who are in particular shoes, or questions that you might ask for them that maybe they can give you advice?
I just think that there has to be a little bit, and please, if people have other little gems of wisdom, let me know. There has to be a little bit of levity to the whole thing, because we're just trying to keep kids feeling safe, getting a few things done, not losing everything that they've learned to date. My 4-year-old's teacher has assigned an incredible reading app where he gets to hear tons of books in Spanish, which I could do with him if I wasn't working with the 8-year-old. So the tech is the tech is really helpful, and we're just trying to like see if we can keep them from losing what they've got to this point. They're gonna be okay.
One of the things that, as you well know, is the mantra of the Global Livingston Institute is listen, think, act. And I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind commenting in this particular strange point in our history of how that mantra of listen, think, act might affect you and your own actions in a personal perspective as well as a artistic professional one.
I think it goes back to the podcast, because I think we were having Zoom meetings and trying to figure out what we were going to do. So the listen was 3 weeks of kind of riffing on ideas, thinking about where everyone was at. And I love how the 8 of us on the podcast team we check in with each other. You tell us something about what you learned today, or what's your vibe today. Like, we give each other enough time and space to check in. So I definitely feel like there's been a lot of listening going on. Thinking, I would say, just like I was just saying too, just thinking about like what's going on today. How do we stay positive today? How do we keep our kids having some fun, learning a little bit, not stressing too much about them not understanding division and multiplication. And then the act, I think, is really just needs to be taken in small bits.
Hmm.
And I think it's got to be on a daily basis. Like, do you feel like journaling today? Do you have time to journal today? Cool. Do you have time to sit on a meditation cushion for 6 minutes today? Do you have time to collaborate with someone? Do you have time to make your neighbor some dinner? Can you try a new recipe? All that is the kind of natural acting that I think we get from just stopping and trying not to stress that much, because we do want to help. We want to help each other, and there's a lot of ways to do it.
I love your definition of listen, think, act. Let us all be aware of the needs of others. Let us all consider how we can be of service, and let us always check in with how much we are really capable of giving, whether in music, whether in accounting, whether in physical activity, or in education. Shawn King, we really thank you for your time and your continued involvement, and we can't wait to meet with you again in person, either in East Africa, in Denver, or in the great Crescent City that care forgot, New Orleans. Any final thoughts?
Likewise, man. It's gonna be there's just gonna be massive hugs after this because it's been so long waiting. I sometimes I think about that and I just get overwhelmed with emotion because it's we I'm lucky enough to live with three other people that I love dearly, and the people who don't have that, I would just say to them, hang in there. Hugs are coming.
Well, as I say, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Shawn King saying hugs are coming and they're going to be epic. Thanks for tuning in to Listen, Think, Act, Check, and good night.